So between those two, it's extremely difficult to call without. Okay. What is up, everybody? It's your boy Herf here, back on the Duel Entertainment channel, and today we got the meta matchup. So I do this, if you guys are unaware on how this works, every month I do a video on where I think the decks are in the meta right now, and their matchups and all that kind of stuff. So here's my personal tier list for the meta right now. The green is tier 1, the yellow is tier 2, the red is tier 3. So currently I got Nobles and Onomat in tier 1. I got Thunder and Desperado in tier 2, and Blue Eyes and Ritual Beast in tier 3. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to rate every single matchup either as green, which is 64, this is better than 60-40 for this collection of decks. So like if Nobles have a good Onomat matchup, it'll be green. If it's 50-50, I'll mark it yellow. And if it's worse than 40-60, it'll be red. Okay, or like worse than 50-50. So there's this space between 50-50 and 60-40 or 40-60 where I just have to use my best judgment and estimate. So basically, let's just jump straight into it. Nobles into Onomat. I think Onomat in general should win this matchup. Actually, so if Onomat, here's the problem. If Onomat goes first, they can kind of lock their opponent. And if they go second, they can kind of win. But because Onomat doesn't run background, Nobles Knights have a really good chance going second. So I would say, overall, this would be a pretty 50-50 matchup. Nobles have a bad Thunder matchup. Just because Thunder is such a good OTK deck, they can go Bouncer going first, which really hurts Noble Knights. Same with Onomat, but Onomat maybe has fewer ways to break boards going second. I think Thunder has a better or a more clear way to break the opponent's board going second because of the Dristan Pop combo, which really allows Noble Knights to prevent Onomat from being able to set up, where Thunder doesn't really care. Noble Knights have I'd say have a decent Desperado matchup. I'd say that Desperado, is one of those matchups where it's either really easy or really hard, and there's no in between. I think stuff like Karma Cut and Quarantine really hurts Noble Knights really hard, and I think if as Desperado maybe plays less and less Quarantine, then maybe Noble Knights will have a better and better matchup. But it's definitely a matchup that Desperado has to tech extremely hard for, and that's why I'm going to say it's a favorable Noble Knight matchup. So obviously, if Desperado changes all of their cards in their deck to counter Noble Knights, it'll be a bad Noble Knight matchup. Okay. However, if they don't do that, Noble Knights absolutely steamroll Desperado. So that's why I'm going to put it as green. If you tech your entire deck to beat one deck, yeah, it's going to be a good matchup. But anyways, moving on to Blue Eyes. I think Noble Knights in general should be beating Blue Eyes. I think that this is a deck where Blue Eyes kind of thrives off being able to, OTK. But I think stuff like Destiny, and I think the back row that Noble Knights have been running are all really powerful against Blue Eyes, and I don't think Blue Eyes can really keep up. The Noble Knight or Ritual Beast matchup is kind of a tough one to call, just because Ritual Beasts have so much protection from destruction. They can tag out of the Custonin, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I'd say it's mostly 50-50. I'd say it's a pretty 50-50 matchup. If Ritual Beasts have the full combo, all that kind of stuff. So we can also rate now these matchups because we already rated them basically the other way. So this would be green. Desperado is bad. And then Blue Eyes has an unfavorable matchup. And Ritual Beast has a 50-50. because, okay, so anything below this black line has to be consistent with everything above the black line because it's the same combination, just the other way around, right? So that's why we can mark these off. So Noble Knights overall have a lot of good matchups, but they do have, their worst matchup is probably Thunder, I would say. But Onomat and Ritual Beast are pretty 50-50. Going on to the Onomat matchups. Onomat versus Thunder is whoever goes second wins. I definitely don't think that. I don't know. I just don't think that either deck has a clear like going first play that automatically wins, and obviously both decks prefer to go second. So overall, that's going to be a 50-50 matchup. Onomat, I think, should clap Desperado. I mean, True Nade into an OTK happens pretty much every time. I think Desperado has kind of a tough time dealing with that. Blue Eyes versus Onomat. I think in general, Blue Eyes should be winning this just because Azure Eyes is so good. Plus, you can tech stuff like Hollow Life Barrier to make it a super free matchup for you. I think Blue Eyes definitely is probably one of the stronger decks against Onomat and probably one of the reasons that it's even considered to be relevant. Ritual Beast into Onomat is not really isn't really a matchup that I've encountered myself, so I'm gonna have to kind of go off of just theory. And so if you disagree with me, please don't freak out. But I would say in general, I guess it depends heavily on what each player opens. I don't really see a way for Onomat to be able to beat over the Ulti-Petalfin except with the one that boosts attack. But then they're gonna just tag out, and then so you need to make like Dweller plus Samurai, which is really hard to make. So I think in general this should be a good Ritual Beast matchup, but albeit that's not definitive. So definitely Onomat have fewer good matchups, but overall have a good 50-50 matchup against Thunders. Can definitely win versus Noble Knights. This is like barely 50-50. And the Desperado matchup is good. So it's got 50-50 or winning matchups versus the other top 3 decks at the moment. So that's why it's so good, as well as it has a good matchup versus all of the other slower decks in the game. So that's why it's up there where it is. So Onomat, we can rank these as well, which this would be yellow. Right, this would be red. This would be green. And this would be green. All right. So not too bad. Moving right along here, our next deck on the list is Thunder. So Thunder into Desperado. I think Thunder wins. I definitely think Thunder should be beating Desperado just purely because they can always float, always do things like that. Very nice. Thunder into Blue Eyes. I think this is a somewhat tough one to call. I think Blue Eyes should win purely because, or no. I think this is going to be bad. Purely because a lot of people might think that this is somewhat unfair, but I think that if you can shotgun into Azure Eyes, a lot of times Thunders can't really get over that. They're turn 1, so then a lot of times Blue Eyes can capitalize that going second. So it could be pretty 50-50, but I think overall Thunder kind of struggles unless they have an absolute god hand. And if Thunders don't OTK, a lot of times they're going to get OTK next turn by Blue Eyes. And if you don't main deck cards as the Thunder player to beat Blue Eyes, you're probably going to lose. Thunder going into Ritual Beasts. It's another Ritual Beast matchup where it's like not bad, but it's not great. But I think in general, Thunder should probably win. Just because Ulti-Petalfin is only 2800 defense. So if you can, unless you Apelio boost and then put Ulti-Petalfin on the board, it's just going to get destroyed, as well as, or it's just going to get ran over. And if you do put Ulti-Petalfin on the board, they still have M7 to bounce it because you don't play enough back row. So overall, yeah. So I think we can rate the reverse. This will be bad. This will be good. And this will be bad. Yeah, bad. Alright, so moving right along here, we're going into the Desperado matchup. So Desperado into Blue Eyes is very, very strong. probably one of the best matchups for the deck. And then versus Ritual Beast, it's really bad. So I think you guys might be wondering why I put Desperado into tier 2, even if it only looks like it has one good matchup. And what I'll say about this is that the Noble Knight and Onomat matchup definitely become good with Quarantine, and the Desperado really can thrive if it has access to Quarantine, stuff like that. But the biggest problem with Desperado at the moment is that if you assess based on the tech cards it runs to counter those decks, that's like sure, but that's not really Desperado, the specific tech cards. So I think that overall it would be unfair to say that has a good Noble Knight matchup. I think if you say Desperado with Quarantine and all these tech cards, it has a good Noble Knight matchup, if that makes sense. But overall, so a lot of these matchups can be made favorable or 50-50 if they tech accordingly, as well as Cup of Ace being a draw 2 definitely allows you to turn some of these bad matchups into good matchups. So that's kind of my rationale before I see everybody in the comments. Also, Desperado has a really good matchup versus pretty much every rogue deck in the game. So if like we put Water on this list, which I didn't include because I don't think Water is that strong. I think it's a pretty gimmicky deck, but Desperado has a good Water matchup. It has, it has a good Goki matchup in my opinion. So if Water and Goki were included here, I think that Desperado would appear to have more good matchups, and that's why it has so many good tournament performances, is because those decks are in there as well. So now to get into the Blue Eyes matchups, Blue Eyes into Desperado we already said was bad. And then Blue Eyes into Ritual Beast is very, very good. This is one of the easiest matchups to rate in the entire list, because Blue Eyes, they put Spirit Dragon on the field, and Ritual Beast cannot do anything. Ritual Beasts need to draw into their tech cards in order to win. So Ritual Beasts have a good Desperado matchup, I said, and Ritual Beasts have a very bad Blue Eyes matchup. So overall, this is how, in my opinion, the meta is looking at the moment. Like I said, Desperado is kind of the one we could say I made a few inconsistent calls, but I think overall it's the most fair way to rate the deck. But overall, if you guys just want to recap, Noble Knights and Onomats are my tier 1, Thunder and Desperado are my tier 2, Blue Eyes and Ritual Beast are in my tier 3. Like I said, some of the most common rogue decks right now would be like Thunder, or not Thunder, but it would be Water and Goki. I think Goki's pretty meh right now, and I think Water is a bit too gimmicky. I'd like to see more of it. And full disclosure, I think that Dark Lords could definitely be included at some point, but I'm not really sure where to place them yet because, like I said, they just won KC Cup, but who knows how that's going to translate into the rest of the metagame, so I'm very hesitant to put it on here. In theory, it should have like a good Onomat and Thunder matchup just because it has so much searchable protection and recursion. Should have a good Desperado matchup. Might struggle versus something like Blue Eyes, but overall, pretty interesting. We'll have to see in the coming weeks how well this stands up to the test of the new meta, but this is where we're at right now. Thank you so much for checking out the channel. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you get in the Discord. Make sure you check out the Twitch as well, because that's where we host tournaments. You sign up for those tournaments being in the Discord, where we also have free new player help, so you get in the Discord. Check out the Twitch. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell on this video. All that fun stuff. Amazing. Thank you so much. See you later.